Okay, so the first thing you want to do is disconnect the gas, take out your adapter because you're going to reuse it on the new gas control valve. And then you're going to disconnect the main burner tube and the pilot tube. Okay, and then you can either do this airlocked. What airlocking is we turn off the cold side of the heater, we relieve a little bit of pressure, and then we unthread the gas control valve from the unit, and there'll be a little bit of water that comes out. So what you would want to do is take a plastic bag and kind of just tape it, cover this area, so if water falls, it doesn't go into the unit. I like to drain the heater, it's safer. It does take a bit longer, but it's the safest way to do it. And then I'll make another recording taking the bottom door off, checking the gasket to see if it's still good to reuse, and then putting and mounting the new pilot assembly. And I'll try to explain that. So you have these two wires that come off, and they're sensing and sending power, letting you know that the thermal pile is working. This is a door chamber sensor. It's sensing the temperature of the door. If it gets too hot, it'll turn the heater off for safety. And that's just your igniter wire, and that's your pilot tube. All right, so we're gonna take off the burner door. There's 4 screws on Bradford whites. 1, 2, 3, 1 in the middle, and I'm sorry, that's 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna pull all those, and we don't need to separate this middle part yet, and we can pull the whole thing out, and then we'll take off the pilot assembly. Okay, after you remove those 5 screws, you just gently pull straight out. If it's in a pan, sometimes you can't pull it straight out, and that's why we want to put our water heaters on strut. Some guys used to use bricks, but strut is a little bit better. It's, you know, most of us carry it on our truck. So you can actually pull this out without cutting the pan. If you have to cut the pan, you can cut the pan in the middle and on the sides, and you fold it down. Pull it out, do your work, fold it back up, and you apply some silicone on the inside and foil tape on the outside of the pan, and then just make sure you smear it into the cuts, and when it seals, it'll do a fairly good job of recreating you know, a pan that actually functions. But what we want to look for is on the burner here that there's no holes in the burner, which I don't see any holes. Sometimes you'll see this green stuff. The main thing is when you're soldering above on the flue here, if it's not covered, you don't want to drip solder down. It'll fall all the way down, and the solder with flux on it will eat a hole in the burner. So that's one thing to know if you guys are still soldering. But beyond that, you break this screw loose here, and you break these 2 screws that hold the 2-part door together, and we pull this out and we put the new one in. You always want to make sure that your igniter wire is tucked down and out of the way. Same thing with your your igniter wire. Your thermal pile tubes are all down below the burner, because if they rest on top, they'll just burn right through. When you get your kit, you're going to get a new pilot assembly like this. You'll get some new gaskets in case you need them. The ones on this one, I told you I would take a look. Now, as long as they're not falling apart, there will be a little discoloration. You're good to reuse them. You can see the one on this other side too. Still looks good. It's discolored, but it's still there. So in the Bradford white training, they said as long as it's intact, you can reuse it without having to replace it. But they do give you a new one if you need it. And your pilot assembly should come with, for this model, a door chamber sensor. So we're going to replace that. Should come with your white and your red lead here, and the extension. So we got all that, and then we're just going to place this in there. We're going to check out the old one here and just make sure it looks similar. So it looks like it might be the right one. We'll find out. All right, I'll give you more details when I'm in there. Okay, so put the whole pilot assembly back in. On that little clip, this little clip, you just got to pay attention to how you take this off. Faces in towards the burner in most cases, and you secure it in the same spot on the burner. And then, like I said, you fold these down and away from the burner, like you saw in the other video. And then you're gonna bolt this side door back on, this one, because it comes apart in 2 pieces, and then you're gonna want to start the 2 screws on the right and left loose, and the ones on the far right loosely, and then get the center one, and then you kind of push down on it. Get the center one in first, push down on this, and then tighten that. Push down on the other side and tighten it, so that way the gasket goes tight up against the combustion chamber. And then once I get the new gas control valve in, you just hook everything back up. I always start with the main burner, it's the biggest one, the pilot tube, and then you get your wires white on right, and then red is on the left, like this one. This is the new one. To get it out, I'll just start it. It's still draining, but you gotta grip it with both hands, and you want to see it just broke loose. And so it's really just in there with your hands, and it already comes with thread sealant in the valleys of the threads, and they are tapered threads.